And thank you for joining us on the schedule change. And it's crazy. We moved you up today because we were supposed to be on an activity schedule, and then our power's out at the school, so we're having school from home today. So I still have a group with me online, and we'll get some to some of their questions here in a minute. But we're recording this also for our friends at Ridgeland High School and Germantown High School as well. And we've looked at your website, honeyfactoryco.com. Really coul stuff.
Yeah.
Something that is obviously needed. There's a market for it. There's obviously a profit to be made off of it. So, why don't you tell us about the Honey Factory and how you got into it, and what all you do, what all you sell?
Okay, so my name is Kennedy Johns. I'm the CEO of Honey Factory Cosmetics. I sell skincare and cosmetics that range from cleansers, soaps, toners, moisturizers, oils. We sell exfoliating sponges, soap dishes, headbands, basically anything you would need to use on your face for a regular skincare routine or regimen. I sell it. I actually got interested in skincare because I struggled with acne as well as eczema myself. It was took a toll on my confidence in high school. And once I kind of got out of that um I guess mindset of just being pretty, because you can be pretty from the inside and that definitely gets you places. So after that I started researching things that will work for my skin in particular because I have oily skin majority of the year, but when it gets like really cold outside, my skin just starts to get dry. And so I wanted to create a pH balanced cleanser that targets acne, that targets eczema, that targets irritation, oiliness. So that's how I got started, and it just took off from there.
Now, do you have a science background to know what type of chemicals you would need? Because we had a hair actually Susan Jackson as well. We had the owner of Luxury Hair Company who has a science background that came up with the science behind what natural black hair would need. So, do you have a science background to know what the chemicals would need, or did you do research on your own to see what skincare products would need?
I actually do. So I attended Jackson State University and I have a degree in biology with a concentration in environmental science. Actually, Dr. Taylor was one of my professors. She is one of the co-founders of Hair Luxury Co. So I love her. I've used her products as well. She is a great professor. And things like that, things like the coursework and materials that I used for biology, it helped me understand botanicals. It helped me understand shelf life, things such as free radicals, preservatives, things like that that I use in my products each and every day. My biology background made it a little bit easier to understand the terms and everything. So it was really 10 out of 10 for me. I was so grateful because the job that I had gotten, you know how they say you learn as you go. I felt like my degree didn't really hold any weight with my job. Even though it was an environmental science job, I literally had to learn everything as I went. Of course, I knew a couple of terms and things like that, but when it came to actually knowing something, knowing how to perform, knowing how to use a certain instrument and things like that, I was just totally lost. But once I started skincare, it was just like everything was falling into place.
Wow. And and that and we've had Dr. Taylor. We had her at the beginning of this year, and I actually had her in person right before COVID. So that's crazy, that connection. That's a cool connection. But one thing we've heard a lot of business owners say that have talked to us is that they may have that science background. We've had a doctor, we've had attorneys say that they know their product, but the problem is they don't know the business
Right.
side of it. And even Dr. Taylor said the same thing. She knew how to make the product, but she didn't know how to run a business. So how did and obviously you were an employee, or I don't know if you still are an employee, but how hard is that to learn the business side of it? Because yeah, you may know how to make a product, you may know how to design something, you may know how to have a pretty sign, or have a good service for some kids, whatever. Because we have several concepts in this class of things they want to do, and they may have a background in that. But how hard is learning to run that business on top of perfecting your product?
It is a never ending cycle of learning. When I say I learn something new every day, I mean that I had to learn how to do email marketing, SMS marketing, social media marketing, which includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so many different advertisements. So it's just, I don't have a business or a marketing background educational wise, but I do make it my business to learn how to market my brand, how to market my products, what specific target audience that I want to reach out to, and things like that. So it is difficult, but it's not impossible. Once you sit down to set your goals, to figure out what exactly it is that you want to do, what exactly it is that you're trying to accomplish, it becomes a little easier. So let's just say if this month I want my products to be sold, I want to sell 100 bars of soap. I have to make sure that I have the marketing, that I have the inventory, and that I have the time to follow up, because a big part of marketing is actually socializing with your customers or potential buyers. So I'm not an extroverted person, but I've had to come out of my shell a little bit more just to kind of be able to connect with my customers and my supporters. So it's not just a linear process. It's not straightforward. There will be some bumps in the road, but as long as you stay focused, it's definitely doable.
Yeah, and I think and all the other ones have said things that were similar, and some of them have said, there are businesses now that specialize in certain areas for small business owners. There are
Right.
people that specialize in doing the books for small businesses. There's people that specialize in doing HR paperwork. There's people that specialize in doing websites. So just because a person doesn't have the background in that doesn't mean they can't go into business for themselves. So one thing we spent a lot of time on was pricing. So how do you determine the prices of your products in a very competitive market?
So one thing that I had to do in particular, I had to see how much it would cost me for my materials, my supplies, my equipment. I do use some machines actually to make my products. To make soap, I have to use an emulsifier. To
Wow.
distribute the toner, I have a machine for that.
Wow.
Labeling, it's, you have to factor all of those prices in, because you won't make a profit if all of your profit is going towards expenses. So it was really, I'm not the strongest in math, and it took me a minute. Like, it took me probably 2 or 3 weeks to finalize my spreadsheet. And that's how I did it. I did a spreadsheet of what I was selling, how much each material that goes into the final product was costing me, as well as how much it takes me for packaging, how much it takes me for shipping costs, taxes, labels. All of that has to be factored into the price, into your final price, as well as having a price point that basically aligns with the rest of your competitive market, like you said. So, also researching other brands that sell similar products, or researching other brands that sell products that I may want to sell in the future. So, things like that really went into me trying to finalize my price. And that wasn't easy either. Like, I think the pricing, once I discovered the difference between organic oils, non-organic oils, GMO, non-GMO products and materials, me personally, I like organic and non-genetically modified materials because you tend to get a better consistency. So that's what I typically go for. But I definitely had to sit down and literally write out every single price. Every single cent matters
Wow.
to the last decimal.
Wow. Now, one thing you said there is you said about what you like. Now, obviously, you know how to make the stuff, you know the materials, but when it comes to reaching a target market, can you really just focus on what you like, or do you have to focus on what the customer likes? Because I've said in class, you need the customer more than the customer needs you. You have to show them that perceived value to show that they cannot live without not live without your product. So how do you do that? Yeah, you can do something that you like, but how do you make the customer say that they need it too?
So I typically put myself into my brand. I want my brand to embody who I am. And I understand, of course, you definitely need the supporters, you definitely need the target audience to buy the product. But I believe if you stay true to yourself, if people like you have a better chance of selling them what they're trying to buy.
Yep.
So I definitely, when it came to my brand identity, what products I wanted to sell, I tried to make sure that everything went along with my target audience. I didn't want to just put anything out there that didn't necessarily mean anything, or I didn't want fillers or anything of that nature. I wanted everything that I have on my website to be something that someone needed, because at one point I needed it, or someone that I know has needed it before. So that's what went into my brand identity and my products.
Yeah, and you have a really cool brand identity, and you have a really cool logo. So, and I think all that plays into the marketing. So, and you talked about you've done a lot of the social media marketing. You have a very easy to navigate website, which I tell them all the time. Having an easy to navigate website is a big deal because people don't want to waste time trying to buy something. If something takes time, they're going to find the price is a big deal, but the ease of access is also a very big deal. If a website is hard to navigate, people aren't going to buy it. So, I think you do a great job of that just from what I've seen on your website and your Facebook and things like that. You make it easy to grab the customer's attention. You have the price is very easy to see, and you're showing exactly what they're getting. Boom, let's get it. Um, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of small business owners make as well. Now when it comes to your marketing, we actually had a question: is do you actually put honey in your products? I had no idea that'd be one for you, but how did you get your name, and how is it that what are some things that you've done to market, and do you ever change the way you market? Because do you see things don't work and try something else?
Okay, so yes, I actually do put honey in my products. My
Okay.
milk in Manuka soap, it has Manuka honey. It's extremely nourishing for things like eczema, psoriasis, and irritation. It's really nourishing to the skin. So yes, I do use honey in some of the products actually. The actual name, my mom calls, she says honey all the time. Honey this, honey that, honey that. So I'm like, okay, well, I want it to be something sweet. I want it to be something warm. And honey was the first thing that popped up in my head. So I kind of brainstormed on it for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, okay, I want to call it Honey Factory. Like, I don't want it to just be one product. I want it to be a whole skin routine. It needs to be a non-stop shop, skincare, cosmetics, everything.
That's
And
all.
as far as marketing, um, I do change up my style of marketing because it took me a while to get into TikTok because it's not as user friendly as other social media platforms
Oh,
are.
absolutely.
But I enjoyed the challenge, so to speak. And once I kind of got more into it, it helped me market better. So once I saw that, okay, well, when I post reels on Instagram, I kind of get more followers from people that my page or my social media may not have reached before. So things like that helped me kind of figure out what worked for me. I'm really big on keeping up with my analytics, how many people are sharing something, how many people are following me after this post was made, how many new pages am I reaching, how many of my own followers am I reaching. So things like that are really important when it comes to marketing as well as social media.
Yeah, and being versed in all that, I tell the kids all the time, you know, being good at TikTok and Snapchat is cool, but you got to know all the other stuff too, But you knew the other stuff and then learned TikTok and Snapchat, so you got to learn it in reverse. That's kind of cool. But I do have some really good questions I want to get to, and these are all entrepreneurship students that have come up with their own concepts. The first one is Khadija Smith, and she's a junior, and she asked, "How have your priorities changed from when you first started your business?"
Okay, so I have always been kind of disciplined with my priorities, but when you're an entrepreneur, it kind of kicks it up in high gear because if you don't do it, nothing is getting done.
Yeah.
So when you work for yourself, you can stay in the bed all day and choose not to do anything, but you have to have that discipline and the priorities needed to kind of say, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. One thing that helps me stay on track is I literally write out everything. I write out what I want to do today, what time I want to have it accomplished by, or what day I want to have it accomplished by. And that helps me keep myself on track because I'm basically my own system of checks and balances at this point.
Yeah, and I think I think that's a great point, and we talked about that in class as well. Is that you work for yourself, but you can take a day off if you want, but nothing's going to get done unless you have employees. Yeah, if it's just you, you're right. You can take a day off, but you better make up for it later. This is Corlin Murray, and this is a great question. She's asked this to a few people, but I love this question. She asked, "How do you get people to trust your product, given how loyal people tend to be toward their skincare products?"
Um, I had a pop-up shop actually before I even launched the website. I had a pop-up shop before the week before the website launch, and I let people come try it. Like I invited the public, anybody local that wanted to attend the launch brunch, they could come experience the products firsthand. You could spray the toner, see the consistency and texture of the soap, look at the moisturizer and the glow oil, and all of those products, they were basically like testers. So when you go in the mall or somewhere, or you see perfume and cologne, they have the testers
Yeah.
for. Anyone that attended the launch brunch could come test out the products, as well as I let my family and friends try it, and I use their results to showcase what each product does, how it helps, what is geared towards. And that's really how I started to get a little bit more attraction to my brand and to my products as well. Because once someone you are familiar with is using something and it's working for them, they can give you their honest opinion on it. Like they may have not liked it, or they liked it a lot, or it did this and that for their skin. And that's how people kind of started gravitating towards my products.
Yeah, and I think that's a great marketing strategy when you are doing something that you say is going to improve something. If you can show the actual improvement in the selling, I think that makes it a little bit easier to sell. Now, and I forgot to ask this before I get to the next student question is and obviously I'm on the outside looking in on this, but for what, especially in the Jackson area, what I've seen in some Black-owned businesses is that they just want to have the lowest price possible and aim for not aim for higher. They're trying to undersell everybody. How dangerous of a trap is that to fall in the Black community?
I think that is something that we have to get out of. It can really hurt you more than help you. Trying to be the lowest possible price is not always the best, because I may see something on Amazon that's like $11. It could be the same product, and then they're advertising another one for $20. And I'm like, okay, well, this one must be of a higher quality. So I'm going to go with the $20 one. So it's really a hit or miss. And in the Black community specifically, I think that we undervalue ourselves. We could sell something that's 10 times better than someone else's, but because we undervalue ourselves, we end up not making the same profit. So you have to really set goals that you want to meet. If you want to be the most affordable for whatever your market is, then do that. Like, let's just take Dollar Tree, for example. If you want to go shop for home decor, you're not going to go to Dollar Tree. You're going to go to Crate and Barrel or IKEA or somewhere like that. But if you want something, just for maybe a short period of time, or if you want something quick or something that is not going to be of that much quality, Dollar Tree may be your best bet. So it just really depends on what market you're trying to tap into. If you want to be affordable, go for that. But if you want to be high quality, luxury, go for that as well.
Yeah, and I've had several students come out of this class and start even if just side hustles. And we have a couple full-time entrepreneurs come to this class. But the thing more often than not, what I usually tell them at the beginning is you're not charging enough, because they're so worried about people thinking they're charging too much that they work themselves ragged and they wind up not making the money that they could be making just charging maybe just sometimes just $2 or $3 more. I mean, we aren't talking about getting up in the Beverly Hills price range here, but just knowing the median market, you can't look at it of I'm 16 years old, this is what I can afford. You have to look at who you're trying to sell to. You're not trying to sell to 16-year-olds. You're trying to sell to 21, 25-year-olds or whoever, or whatever you're trying to do, or their parents. They're going to have a little bit more of that income. That's what you have to look at.
I agree.
This is Jarvis Owsley. He has two questions. He's in 11th grade. He asked, how much has your product line expanded, and has that correlated with a profit?
So I typically do, when I create a new product, I like to work with it at least a full 2 months,
Okay.
because it takes about 6 weeks for something to see, for you to see a change when you introduce a new product to anything. Your body, you could be taking it physically, you can be using it topically. It just really depends on the product itself. So I've been working on some products since before I launched that I haven't launched yet, because I may not be 100% happy with them
Yeah.
myself. So I'm the kind of person that kind of strives for perfection, which it can be a negative side to that, because sometimes I overthink a lot of what I'm doing. But I also feel like it makes me comfortable knowing that I know how something may react. I know how a reaction that someone may have on their skin if they use this product. I know how the consistency may last. I know the shelf life of the product. So I feel comfortable knowing that if I take this amount of time before I release it, I don't have to deal with so much extra after I release it. Um, I typically have, I think I've launched 4 extra products since the day that I've launched. I've launched the Honey Factory Co. Beauty Band. I've launched the anti-spot cream. We got bigger oil. The oil comes in a bigger bottle now. So things like that really helped me not only generate more profit, but it has also helped me to expand my product line.
Yeah, and we talked from the beginning in this class. We talked about having that company culture, having that mission and vision to have your overall persona as a company. And if you're really pushing high quality products, you're right. You don't need to start throwing something out there before you know for sure that it matches the quality of things you've previously done. And you know, and you're selling yourself on high quality to keep those customers that you have. You're going to have to maintain that quality. So that's a great point. I love that. This is Jarvis again, and he asked, what qualities do you think are necessary for a small business owner to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Discipline, self motivation, because you're not always going to get the most support from everyone else. They may not see your vision how you see your vision. They may not see your vision at all, but you have to be self motivated so that you keep yourself going and you don't rely on other people to keep you going, as well as knowledge, financial literacy, marketing literacy, business literacy. Those are things that you definitely need to have down packed before you decide to tap into entrepreneurship, because it could be very overwhelming if you try to take it heads on without having the amount of knowledge that you may need prior to starting. It can get very overwhelming.
Absolutely. I just got one more. This is Michael Williams. He's a senior, and he asked, "Are you? Is there anything cool other than honey that you put in your products?"
Anything cool?
Yeah.
Yes, I use activated charcoal. I use tea tree oil,
Wow.
botanicals, calendula flowers. And if you look at the properties of the materials and ingredients that I use in the products, you can see how just a small percentage or a small amount of it can make such a big difference in your skin. So, me
Wow.
personally, as a biology major, I think that it's cool. I'm not sure if anyone else does, but I think that those things are cool, especially given the fact that they're natural. They come from Earth and we use them for things that we need.
Yeah, and that's a big selling point too. Is people, you know, more and more every day are not trusting these man-made, lab-made items. You know, the natural items are really a selling point, and I think people are starting to see that really works better. But and we're almost out of time. We thank you so much for joining us. This is really cool, and especially on the schedule change. But before we go, um, uh, you know, you're right here in the Jackson area. You're a young black business owner. You grew up here as a young black person in Mississippi, same way everybody that's watching with me now is. So, how can they, coming from the similar environment in the same area, just like you, also be successful as young black students in Mississippi?
Set goals. That's number one. Focusing on what it is that you may want to do helps you set a plan to achieve it. So set goals. That's number one. YouTube. There you can learn how to do anything on YouTube. YouTube, social media, and research. if you have the knowledge that you need to bring something into fruition, there's really nothing that can go wrong because you have what you need. And if you're willing to put in the time and effort to give yourself the knowledge, you can always gain more knowledge. You can always make something better. But if you start with a solid foundation, it's only up from there.
That's awesome. Well, Kennedy, we thank you so much for joining us. You have a really cool product, and I think there's a huge need for it. The website, thehoneyfactoryco.com,
Hmm.
thehoneyfactoryco.com. All your social media info is on there. Great Instagram follow. Make sure you go follow her. She's got some great items, and and I can just tell. I mean, you have great skin yourself, so obviously something's working. And you see, and you have your before and afters on there, so it's really cool. We thank you so much for talking to us today about what you got going on, and hopefully we'll have some customers come your way.
Thank you all so
Oh,
much.
and then when we don't have our COVID restrictions, we'd love to have you on campus like we had Dr. Taylor as well, because you're one of our local people. So we'd love to have you visit and speak to our young people whenever we can have visitors again.
Okay, no problem. I would love to come.
All right, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you all. You as well.
See ya.